78-year-old Elizabeth Cooter and her nephew, Roger Dwayne Aiken, were known as being kind-hearted and willing to help anyone who needed it. Roger helped care for Elizabeth at her home along West Main Street in Greeneville. It was there on March 23, 2014, that the two were targeted. Elizabeth was killed inside the home, and Roger was left for dead before the house was intentionally set on fire.
It was a Sunday morning. There was a light rain. It was cool. I was on patrol on the west end of town in Sector 1 and 2 that day, and I turned on the West Main Street to patrol. As I passed the 1100 block, I noticed smoke coming up from a house. At first I thought that it got cool enough in the night for them to set a fire in their chimney, but then I noticed that the smoke was not coming from the top of the chimney, it was coming from the side of the chimney. So I backed up, pulled into the driveway, and at that time I could determine that there was a fire inside the home.
Lieutenant Key began knocking on the door, but no one answered, so he pushed it open. It was then he saw Roger Aiken lying in the living room area, unconscious.
As we were pulling Mr. Aiken outside, the ceiling of the home collapsed and the house became engulfed totally in fire.
Elizabeth was still inside, but officers weren't able to get to her. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Roger was transported to a North Carolina hospital where he died as a result of his injuries 2 days later.
And it was later determined, because of their injuries and other evidence found, that it was a homicide, a double homicide.
TBI agents began working alongside the Greeneville Police Department to determine who was responsible. While numerous people have been interviewed and dozens of leads pursued, the case remains unsolved.
At this point, we're pretty confident that it was a targeted double homicide. However, that doesn't mean that we've excluded any other possibilities.
There's now a vacant lot where the victim's home once stood in the 1100 block of West Main Street. Investigators believe someone driving by may have seen something on the morning of March 23, 2014 that they didn't realize was significant at the time.
People were coming into town to go to church. It was Sunday morning around 9 o'clock. Somebody saw something that morning.
If you have information about the murders of Elizabeth Cooter and Roger Aiken, please call 1-800-TBI-FIND or send an email to tips@tbi.tn.gov. For the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, I'm Leslie Earhart.